Traditional Japanese RPGs are amazing. During the early days, games like Oni, Ib, and Yume Nikki were very popular, and for good reason. Oni first introduced the horror chase genre in RPG Maker, Ib had an amazing atmosphere and characters, and finally Yume Nikki had very surreal storytelling and overall experience. Together, they would form what is sometimes called RPG Maker games, as most top-down RPGs would use this engine to create their games. Apart from not following the norm of action RPGs, each one of these games had a unique thing that made them so memorable, which would have contributed or maybe inspired some of the more recent RPGs of today. But one common thing among them is that all of them were made exclusively for PC. But what if I told you there was one that was actually a mobile game? And I'm not talking about a port, but an actual authentic top-down RPG that is actually very obscure. In fact, it's so obscure that I even forgot how I found it in the first place. The game I'm talking about is called Survival Island. I know the name sounds generic, but bear with me for a moment as there's more to it than that. So right away you can already tell how difficult it would be to even find this game based on the name alone. But what exactly is Survival Island? Well, it's a Japanese escape RPG where you find yourself stranded on a deserted island with nothing but your bare hands. The game was created by Nikki, a Japanese indie studio that created a few other mobile games like Happy Sandwich Cafe and House Stacker. But Survival Island would be their first and only RPG, which was released on January 10 in 2014, and it might be one of the first examples of a mobile RPG maker game. What makes the game stand out is how it tries to replicate surviving on an island. As the majority of the game, you'll have to explore and forage to survive, using whatever you can to learn and grow over time to eventually be able to escape the island. The story begins after your luxury cruise liner gets caught in a storm and sinks, leaving you stranded on the unnamed island. First and foremost, you'll have to fill up your stamina. Eating or sleeping will help you replenish it, which you will need to do to be able to do certain things like fishing and chopping wood, but I'll get to those later. There's also a small leveling system where some interactions require you to be a certain level to be able to do other things, like for example pushing boulders, which are important for some of the major puzzles. On the main island, there are 4 different areas to explore, each with their own natural resources and puzzles. After you pick up your first item, you'll get an idea. Ideas are basically recipes. When fully researched, it will allow you to access new items or tools, like an axe to chop wood, which you can then use to build better tools, and a mortar can be used to mash items together to create better materials or food to eat. However, this is where the mobile gaming aspect starts to kick in, as the game will essentially become a bit of a grind, as a majority of the recipes require a lot of materials to craft. And since recipes take time to research even if you have the right ingredients and normal items don't respawn right away, you might find yourself having to leave the game to come back later. Fortunately, there are some tools that will help make it a bit more bearable. Fishing nets allow you to collect items from the ocean while you're away, and the best item in the game, the boomerang, will allow you to get items that are out of reach and also to speed up the gathering process as it can collect whatever it passes as it returns. And if you're not exploring or waiting for more items to respawn, you can go fishing with the fishing pole. In most games, fishing is just about collecting fish, with other items like trash being essentially something to just throw away. In Survival Island, however, everything has a purpose, as you can actually recycle whatever you fish up with the right tools, turning them into other crafting materials or using them in other recipes. Additionally, there are also quests that will appear occasionally when a message in a bottle washes ashore. It's usually just a simple fetch quest, and there is some small backstory to each message, but either way, once you fulfill the request, you'll receive another bottle and either get a recipe for a new item or some rare materials. Now, onto puzzles. There are many to be found on the island, and what's interesting is that the entire game is just puzzles. For example, one of the most common are the boulder puzzles, usually requiring you to push them in a certain order to gain access to new areas or to find a hidden item underneath one specific boulder. And the rest involve using your tools to interact with the world. Like once you unlock strong rope, you can use it to climb up the cliff's location to access new areas for newer items. Eventually, with enough patience, you'll be able to collect enough materials to build a raft and escape the island. Or so you would think. as the game isn't finished just yet. The raft isn't strong enough to sail against ocean currents. The only way to truly escape is by upgrading your raft to a boat. The recipe for it can be found later on when you complete a quest for a scientist by navigating through the jungle maze to give them coconuts. Fortunately, with the raft, you can still use it to access the 4 neighboring islands to find new resources for your boat. The first and closest is Boar Island. The name is self-explanatory, and aside from the other usual items, the main thing to grab here is FRP, a key part for the boat which you can get by using a shovel on a very specific potato patch. Afterwards, you'll have the option to sail to the Rainflower Island or the Lion Island. Both have the next wood type you need to use for the boat, but you can actually skip Lion Island as Rainflower Island is the only one you need. Remember how you got the FRP? Well, to get a shovel, you'll need 1 strong screw, and that's only found on the main island in the furthest part of the cliffs area, and it's unreachable unless you have the boomerang. To unlock it, you'll need to complete the Blue Medicine quest, which is a herbal remedy you could make by mashing together rainflowers that are only found on that island. Meanwhile, the only thing Lion Island has is meat from the lions that can give a whopping 100 stamina, and there's also a new crop, but it's kinda useless. Not to mention, to even get there, you'll need to build a bridge, which will use up more of your resources. Once you have all the materials you need, you'll be able to sail past the currents and finally back home. But you may have noticed I left out one last island. You see, escaping the island is just the normal ending, but if you want the true final ending, you'll need to 100% the item book, which means finding and crafting every single item at least once, and the rest of which can be found on the aptly named Mysterious Island. From there, you can cut down mystery trees. These trees are the strongest in the whole game, being so strong that you can't even convert them into lumber, even with the strongest axe. Additionally, you can get tree resin from them if you have the electric drill, a tool made from mostly trash parts you fish up in the ocean. Once the book is complete, you are given one last recipe for the mysterious engine. Now, I won't go into details because it's basically a repeat of the same process, as all the new materials basically replace the original items, so you'll just have to retrace your steps. But when you do, you'll be able to use it to get the final craftable item, which is the cruise liner you sailed in from the beginning. And when you head back into the city again, you'll get a special ending screen as now you can finally enjoy your vacation. All in all, Survival Island would end up a semi-successful game, being praised for its interesting mechanics and emphasis on progressing at your own pace. However, the biggest complaint would be how it'll turn grindy near the end, and the difficulty, because progression is extremely hard to figure out without a guide. But if you do want to play the game, I suggest going in blind and use the guides only as a last resort. Eventually, the game was so good that Nikki created a sequel simply called Stage 2, with more islands, more improvements, and more puzzles. But I won't go over it in this video since I never got to play it, so I'll save that for another time. Otherwise, I fully enjoyed playing this game back then, and I'm pretty sure I originally found it during my super obsessed Minecraft phase. And honestly, I'm glad that I did. I re-downloaded this game last month, and while it's still taking me a while to finish it, it got me thinking. Back then, and probably even to this day, majority of mobile games were just endless runners or repetitive puzzles with no end goal in sight. Playing Survival Island again made me reminisce about other RPGs, and how having a story and goal there made it more important. In a way, Survival Island was just like Minecraft. While it can be a slow process, there is a main goal, and the journey is what makes it so enjoyable. Being able to slow down and to explore the unknown and improve by experimenting with new ideas and learning from past mistakes. So while it wasn't the game I was looking for, it ended up being an unexpected treasure. Thanks for watching. Sorry this took another month to make. I forgot how complicated the game was. Cause if I had to explain every single item and recipe in the game, this video would be way longer. Also, if you haven't been keeping up with my community tab, after the Dan video, I finally got monetized and had to get that stuff in order, which I'm still not finished with. Additionally, I decided to upgrade my editing software from DaVinci Resolve 15 to 18 to hopefully edit things faster and add more effects to my videos. I'm still getting used to it, but hopefully the next video won't be as long again. One final thing I'd like to say is thank you for 3,000 subscribers. With the success of my Dan video, being recently monetized, and reaching 3k subs all in 1 month, I feel kinda bad for my terrible upload schedule, so I'm grateful for you guys for always being patient with each upload. I promise to do better, and hopefully over time I'll be able to make videos faster and better. I'm still deciding what to do for the next video, so I highly suggest you check out the community tab as I try to be active there, doing polls about stuff or general updates. I'd also appreciate it if you'd like the video and subscribe if you haven't done so already. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.